inspiration at all for wood.
Today we're going to be going over some of the things I couldn't include in the STARJOY booklet. It was just too much when my husband got sick at the very end to concentrate on. Today we're going to go over exactly what is set up in the STARJOY Gold pencil set, and then I'm going to show you where to find other things. Now, my friend sent me this clip. I guess it's like a newbie person who was doing a hangout, and she had gotten the pencils and she liked the pencils, but she didn't understand the setup. And some people just don't have the ability to look at a set and pick out colors that are specific to what you want to include. It's a newbie thing. You'll get over it, and I'll be here to teach you how to do it. She enjoys doing wood and I guess nature pictures, but when she looked at the set, I guess it was overwhelming to her, and she couldn't visualize that the wood colors are in the set, I guess because that's a little bit more advanced for her. So I'm going to show you today how to do woods. I have 8 different types of wood. You can do an infinite amount of wood. Any wood color that you can think of, you can do with a set. But I'm going to give you 8 different combinations for maple, oak, pine, cherry, mahogany, walnut, birch, and bamboo. So I think that that's a good place to start for anybody who wants to do wood. She likes to do, like she called it dirt. I wouldn't call it dirt. I would call it ground cover. I'll go over where the colors are and how to do ground cover for you. I think that would really help her and other people who might not be able to see color when they get overwhelmed. I know a lot of people who get the Prismacolor set, and I felt this way when I first got it too, that I looked at it and went, oh my God, what do you do with it? It's the #1 reason I say don't buy big, huge sets. 120 to 150 pencils is really all the colors you need at the beginning to create every color in every box of pencils. Now, it doesn't have to only be STARJOY Gold. This way of combining the colors that I'm going to show you is good for any set that you have. It's just being able to recognize your undertones and what undertones go with what actual overtone color, and that'll help break through any creativity blocks that you might have, enabling you to choose any color from any photograph. So let's begin. What you're seeing now in front of you is the code translation for the STARJOY set. On the far left, that's not the pencil number. That's just the number, the Excel number. There are 22 categories in this set. At the beginning, you have your blendable colors, and that's not the only blendable colors that there are. Say for red, I gave you 3. That's not the only red colors that are in the set. Those are 3 colors that I know will blend into each other very easily. They're not even in order necessarily on every category because there's something called linear tone. We're just going to accept that you can choose from those 3 pencils and they will blend into each other. Now, usually I say pick a light, medium, and dark. Sometimes if a tone is linear, there is no light or dark. It's a red color, but the tone, how light that pencil is or that color is basically the same. To test tone, you turn your paper into a black and white. At the end of your picture, if your tones are set right and you've got a large variety of tones in your picture, the picture is going to look just as good in black and white as it did in color. If you're using a lot of tonal values that are like mid-tone in the picture, when you turn it black and white, it's going to become very dull. Those 3 colors that I'm giving to you are not necessarily your ultimate tonal values that you're going to use for every red or blue or green or whatever object. In subsequent lessons, I will get more into how to add in your tones and where they are. But just for now, as a beginner, or even if you think you're an intermediate, like the woman that cannot pick out the brown tones from this set, we'll get you there. Don't worry. We have red, orange, red, red, orange. Now, what's the difference between orange, red, and red, orange? The second name of the color is always your base. So you have an orange, red. Red is your base color. They have now put orange into the red. So when you have a orange red, orange is mixed in with red being your undertone or your base. Now you have red orange. Orange would be the undertone with a red overtone. And sort of at the beginning, it doesn't really seem like it's a pattern, but as you get through with the whole entire color spectrum, it will become a pattern and you'll be able to see it easily. So we've got orange, red, yellow, orange, orange, yellow, yellow. Yellow is a base color that it's not got any greens added in. It doesn't really have any yellows. It may have some gray added in, or it could have some white added in. And that's where you get into muted colors and pastel colors. It's a saturated color like red, yellow, blue. Those are your saturated colors. Red, yellow, blue being your primary colors. So if you add in that in the white, you get a pastel version of red. If you add in a gray, you get a muted version of red. So then you have green, yellow, yellow, green, 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 blue, blue, violet, blue, blue, violet, violet. Now, where is that coming from? Well, it's actually coming from reds. So it's doing a full circle in your color wheel. Your violets go into your reds. So at one point of the violets, it's going to be a base of blue, and another, it's going to be a base of red. You've got blue, violet, violet, red, violet, violet, red, and then it stops, the first 54 pencils. That's one category in this set, and you can work with those 54 pencils, but this is a 120 set, so we added in other categories that you can work with. So we added in jeweled colors. Jeweled colors are very vivid, and they're colors that you would find in nature, mostly in stones. That's why they call it jeweled colors. A lot of your really more expensive precious stones are considered the jewel colors, and they're beautiful. They're sometimes mixed in with some grays, so you'll have a jeweled color that is a muted color. So I included the jeweled colors in there. Play with them. They're very pretty. Then I added in a section, and we all love them. We love our pastels. But most sets are actually a kind of a mixture of muted and white. So you would add in some gray and you'd add in some white to the primary color, and you would end up with this pastel-like color. And that's why there's so many different pastel sets that you can get. They're gorgeous. So I included a whole bunch of the really basic muted pastel colors. The next group are your skin tones. Now, I included everything from your lights to your darks. And there's where you're going to get your peaches, your tans, your browns. And there's where you're going to look for, in those skin tones, for your nature colors, your tree, your wood. They're the same colors. You use the same exact colors to color a landscape, that you could take that landscape set and use it to do portraits. They're very similar. Unfortunately, I can only pick one, and Andy will be coming out with a nature set, but we needed to make a primary set, and I really couldn't write on the pencil because just so much room, skin/nature. So that's where, if you're having trouble picking out colors and you don't know where your browns are, you're going to find your browns there, and I'm going to show them to you in just a minute. Then we have another category called color correction. This is for skin tones, and there are certain colors, I did a video on it, that you can add to skin tones that you don't even realize, like purple and green, that will mute down and bring a color back to a mid base. It neutralizes, and that's what the skin tones, the skin corrections do. They neutralize a color, and I will do another lesson on that, all in good time. And then the bottom group is your grays. Now, what I was given to choose from was heavier on the warm gray side. So I picked out as many of the grays that I was able to use that were tonally different from each other. They do hail closer to the nature side. So if you ever look at a tree, you're a new artist, you're picking up a coloring book for the first time, you You see a tree and you immediately go to your brown color. Now, as you start learning about colors, my best suggestion to you is to go outside and look at the colors that tree trunks have. And you might be surprised to find out just how many are not brown. They're gray, they're tan, they're beige. They all fit into that category. So your grays are very important. And what's really good about this set is that we've gone a little bit heavier on the gray browns. And for nature pictures, you pick your gray green, your gray browns. Now, there's also blue grays. Blue grays mix better with cool colors, although it's not a rule. The blue gray color in this set is very good color for cooling down your warmer colors. So you can make a mix of your blue grays and your brown grays, or your French grays. It's the same thing. So that is the STARJOY translation code. Now, you could take a screenshot of this to give you a reminder, or even better yet, over in my Facebook group, Dina, who put this together, thank you, Dina, wonderful at that. She's going to be uploading this into the Facebook group. She's one of my moderators. So you can make a copy of over there of this set, or just write it down. So feel free to use it as you need. Okay, so I swatched some of the colors that you're going to be using to create this brown wood. It starts at 93 Palomino, and you could take it all the way to burnt ochre, and that's 104S. But there are other colors you could choose from, and definitely other colors that we can add in for some ground cover. So let's get through the creation of the 8 wood colors, and then I'll show you how to do the ground cover. Okay, so I printed this out just so that I could show you how to do it. So if you look at the maple, you'll see that it has a definite yellowish red undertone. So it's like a red overtone with, you could tell it's got yellow in it. So the first color I'm picking is the Sienna Brown. I'm just doing a very light bottom layer. And remember, when you're working with oil pencils, you have to do those bottom layers very lightly, or you're not going to have those colors shine through the way you're going to want them to. Once you have that light layer down, and then you're going to come in with another color. And you can see the striations that are in the maple. And there's no way you have to get it perfect. Just to know that the maple has longer striations. So if the person is going to identify the wood in your tree or your furniture that you're doing, then maybe this makes a little bit more of a difference. But just to give you a more an idea of how to create the look of the wood more naturally, I'm going to use the sienna, the burnt sienna, and that's pencil 101. And I'm going to do some of these striations. Now they're long, and they're not completely straight. You don't want to ever make them where they're just lines. They're not stripes. So just irregular long is fine. Some of them don't go completely to the bottom. They sort of bundle off. Some are lighter than others. Just don't get too linear, and the look will come. Okay, don't rush it. Very easy time of it. Relax and enjoy the process. Okay, so now I have some of that wood grain in it, and I could start darkening it up. Now, don't go in so harshly with the pencil. You're going to go back to that Sienna Brown, and that's the 96S. Don't go in hard and burnish immediately. You want to bring out these tones. Go lightly. Remember, colored pencil is very slow. The slower you go, the nicer the tones are going to be. Then I'm going to go back with the burnt. Now, why I don't go hard immediately on it, because you want to leave it so that it's got some different variations in the color. Like, you can go like heavier the second time. But if you notice, it's not a straight line. Try to get your lines so that they're little colors like this. Like that. You don't want to just draw a line. So now that I have this one mapped out, I'm going to put you on hyperlapse because we have 8 of them to go through. And, well, actually, I'm going to go through these and then I'm going to work all of them. Let's go through all the colors in case you don't want to watch the full development of them. So these 2 colors are for maple. Now, if you look on the computer, it's a little bit better than what my printout is. This is just from my computer taking the picture. So for that, remember, it's 96S and 101S. Okay, now we're going to go to oak. Oak is a little bit browner, and you can see it in the picture. It's not far off from the maple, but it is a little bit darker. So what I suggest you to do is to now bump it up. Your background color is going to be the burnt sienna, and then we're going to go to a darker color for the striations. So let's get that bottom layer going. If you go light enough and use the side of your pencil, I let the pulp grain in the paper grab onto some darker color. And that helps give it some more natural striations. So I'm starting with a very good base. I'm going to go and I'm going to look at the striations, and I need something a little bit darker. You could see it's getting into the darker range. So I'm going to take out my swatch sheet, and I'm going to pick out something that's a little bit darker and will match, and I'm going to go with tree bark. Okay, I'm going to make sure that my pencil point is sufficient. It's good. And I'm going to make the same striations because this wood has the same type of striations. It's just a little bit darker than the maple. And remember, this is just the first layer of each one of these. Now, you might want to put in a knot, which is very easy to do. You just, an egg-shaped squiggle with a darker in it. It's kind of hard to screw it up if you just stay loose. Just filling in some variations in the shades. It's tree, so it's always going to have variations. You could see that that's going to become that. Now let's go over to pine, which is definitely your lightest of the woods, and your yellow peach is perfect for that. Now with pine wood, there's not that many striations, but the striations do go this way. So I'm going to start out with my yellow peach, and I'm going to just get down that layer of the yellow peach. So if you look at pine up close, its striations are not that dark. The perfect color for doing it would come as 62J, and that's your golden butterscotch. So the striations here go this way, but it has more of a color shifting effect, so than you will see in woods. It just doesn't have that striation like. But what it does have is that the hues vary and sort of cause like color shifts that aren't as pronounced. As you can see, as I work on it, it's becoming closer and closer to this. It needs a lot more butterscotch in it, but I want to do this fast, and then I'll come back and I'll show you one that's been worked on. I love cherry wood. It's one of my favorite woods out there. It's a very rich brown with an undertone of red. It's gorgeous to make, and let me show you. You're going to start out with 99S. That's your barbecue. It's a very reddish brown color. And we're going to do a light layer of that. It's a lot lighter. Like, it's a lot more red than what the cherry would be. But when you go very lightly and we add the colors on top of it, this color will peep through and create a gorgeous cherry red. Let me get the first layer on and we'll work on the other colors. The red base. Okay, and again, that was barbecue. Now I'm going to go in with the darker color, and you can see the darker in there. And I'm going to do the striations going this way in kind of the same way, but it doesn't look like it's as knotty as, say, the oak is. So I'm going to just go in. Remember, very light at the beginning. You're going to let your colors come out. Don't be impatient. Now, this one is a little bit different, as I have to really build it up to put the next color on, because if you notice, once you get the color right, and that will come later on, it's got sort of a glow on it also. That's the red coming out, and you're going to achieve that. It's too early to do now because I don't want this to be on the main paper. I want this to be on top of the red, but we're going to be using some candlelight on it. And on the next go around, you'll see it in action. Now we got the darkest one, Mahogany. And I'm going to go straight to my Good Earth. And Mahogany also has a little bit of red. It's kind of the same as the cherry, but the cherry has more red in it. The Mahogany is pretty dark. So we're going to do the same thing with the Mahogany. And Mahogany doesn't have the striations that cherry would have. It's basically a very solid color. It gets interesting when we get over to the walnut. So I'm going to do this wrong color. I'm going to use the base of Good Earth. See how light I'm going? I could see right through the pencil. I love that there's almost no dust with these pencils. So let me get this one going and we'll do the top. Before I start adding in some of the redder hues on here, I took my pencil for a second and third layer, and I'm making the color striations that you can make out in here, but by putting them in now, and when I put the red on, you're going to get the red over them and give you that sort of, is it there, is it not there look. So I'm going to work on this and get this pretty built up before I even think about adding the red over it. Which is different because here I put the red on underneath. Here I'm putting the red on the top. Now, the maple is a lot of fun because it really has a lot of color variations. So what I'm going to do is I want to start out with the lightest one, and that's going to be tree bark. So I'm going to put in a light layer of tree bark on the bottom. I have that layer of tree bark, but I want to add in another layer on there, because if you take a look at here, there is a bright area before you add in all those other tones. So what I want to do is I want to get out a color, Sunshine. And this is just going to help it along. And I'm going to just add some of those really bright striations. Now this is undercolor. This is not detail. I just want to make sure that color is there. Oh, you can't see. Okay, that's going to be the bottom. Now I need something on top of it, and walnut is a very rich brown. I'm going to go right back to my Good Earth, and I want to start adding in some of those lines on there. No rush. Keep your pencil light. Don't burnish it. This is when you really just want to build up color. Okay, once I'm finished building that color up, I want to add in the slightest, and I'm not ready for that yet. So we're going to add in the slightest amount of red just to tweak up the color. So I will work on that, building it up. Let's move on to the next color, which is birch. Now you can notice that birch and pine are two different colors, but they're still the light woods. And if you notice, the birch wood and the pine are, this is much more orangey. And I'm going to start with a underlayer of beige. And that's because if you look on here, there's the tones underneath. So you want to add the lighter color onto it first. So I'm going to do it in beige, and then we're going to put that redder, orangey more tone on top of it. I'm going to take a look at the wood here. You will see that there's rings in the birch that really weren't in the cut of other woods. So we're going to concentrate on creating those rings. And you need a very light color that's a peachy beige. I think maybe we're going to go with the peach now that I've said it out loud. You know what? I'm going to go with yellow peach to begin with. And then we'll add something on it. And I'm going to just start forming some of the rings. Remember, they're very loosely generated, not heavy. And let's get, some are thinner, some are thicker. Okay, so that's the undertones of that wood. Well, I still need to work on it to be able to add in the top tones. So let's move on to the bamboo. Now, I've seen bamboo come in many different colors. This one that's on here is definitely a golden color. I've seen it come in colors that are closer to the pine color, but let's go with the golden color. And we're going to start off that with definitely the Sienna Brown light, which is the closest to, on Prismacolor, goldenrod. So again, the bamboo just looks like the same as the maple. It has the same type of striation. So I'm going to do a bottom coat with the brown light, the Sienna Brown light. I got the first layer done, and I've added in some striations with the same color, just a little bit darker. Now what I want to do is I'm going to go in with tree bark. I'm going to line the same lines that I had put in. Just slightly going over them thinner with the tree bark. Don't color them in. I want both colors to show through. It's very easy like that. Now, what do you do with pictures like this once you learn how to do this? These make fantastic backgrounds. Go in and do some boards in a background with the picture sitting in front of it, and then go in with a little bit of shadow to lift that off, and it'll look like whatever image you want on a wall, say in a cabin. Somebody actually sent me something like that and asked me to do a lesson on it, and it's been a long time. So I hope you're still here and I've done your lesson on how to do these boards. I'm just lining it. Now what I have to do is go back and do more layers, which I'm going to do. And when I get to the end on each one of these, I'll tell you what I did and how I did it. So this is just the middle of it. We're building up the colors. There's going to be nothing more than just building up color. I know I color all over the place. It's just my process. So I'll start this one, work to this one, go, oh my God, go back to this one. So I bounce all over the place. I wanted to point out to you, I was using the yellow with the browns. Now I'm putting a little bit of barbecue in it. So you see how on here, there's those bright spots where the yellow is, but there's a haze of red over it. And that's what you can get out of an oil pencil, where you can't really do that much with a wax pencil because of the way it blends. Now watch what happens when I lightly go over the yellow. See how the yellow peeps through? That's what you can do with an oil pencil. Remember, the lighter the layer, the easier it is to see through it. Always think cellophane. But also, I wanted to say, at the end of the video, I'm going to give you written out all the colors that I use. So don't worry about taking notes or anything like that. I'm going to totally just give it to you guys. The last color I'm going to put on the mahogany is Sepia. I didn't have this pencil until today. When Andy sent me my sets, Sepia did not exist. So I just got these today, and I love this color. Somebody said it was very close, because I asked people. I wanted to see what it was, that it was very close to Good Earth. I don't really think it is. But I think the Good Earth it's dark brown, but the sepia is much darker. So this I'm very happy about. I mean, you can just see that they're two different colors. So I'm going to happily use it because I think it is the exact color. If you look at this mahogany, mine's a little bit red, but I used the darkest that I can go. Now I can go darker brown. So we'll see how that works out. Okay, we're 37 minutes into this video, and it's already been edited, the first part, so I'm not going to be able to cut it back any more than I have. So what I'm going to do is two of the colors, these two, in part 2 of this video. And I want to do it that way because this color, believe it or not, is a difficult color to achieve. It's not... it takes a little bit more to build that color, but I have the combinations and I'll be able to give it to you. This was a little bit lighter than this, and I stopped at this point because it too has colors in it that you would not expect to have had into it. And you're going to want to, what I'm going to be doing is kind of creating a color morphing combination where you're going to neutralize certain colors, and I think it'll be really good in a whole lesson onto itself. So I'm going to leave this alone for now, and we'll get my next video, the part 2, will also include the ground cover because I didn't get to ground cover on this one. I didn't get to ground cover in this video either. So I'm going to give you, at the end of this video, I'm going to give you the colors that create these different woods. And remember, lay down counts. I'm working the undertones up through your overtones. It's what makes oil pencils so wonderful, is you can create those effects. You can make yellows pop through to the top, where on soft core waxes like Prismacolor, you really have, it's a little bit harder. It's not impossible to do, but it's harder to do because the colors don't stay where they're supposed to be. They blend like batter. So let's take it in a second video, and I will see you then. Take care. Bye-bye.